Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Jusuf Nurkic out once again. Is he ever coming back? Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Game Day Tuesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button and do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me once again, he's back from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Tuesday, Ben Garcia?
I'm a little sleepy, fresh off a plane from Minnesota. Wish I would have stuck around, and instead of watching the Cardinals blow a 19-6 lead, I could have watched the Suns beat up on the Warriors. But I'm good. I'm back. I'll try not to take any more vacations during the season. That's like a no-no, but I had this plan long before this, and, you know, Brendan's got it covered. But I'm back. I'm excited to talk some Suns because the Cardinals were not doing it for me.
Well, I'm paying you back because I'm out of town this weekend. So we'll just trade off here with some holiday travel. But some updates to get to that I think are bigger picture than just, you know, the time that somebody is out or whatever you want to look at here, Ben, to get to. Starting with Jusuf Nurkic, who the Suns have now announced will be reevaluated in a week with a right thigh contusion, which is just like the 15th different lower body thing that we have seen Nurkic get labeled with here. And we're coming off of a game, talked about this a little bit on Monday's episode, where Oso Ighodaro played very, very well against the Warriors in that win, played much more than Mason Plumlee in a game that Nurkic missed already. And we already know how important these rookies are going to be for the rest of the season, Ben. So to me, I look at this as he's kind of proven everything I would have wanted to see. Do we just see the Suns start the rookie from here on out while Nurk deals with this? Because I don't see the point in going back to Plumlee based on what we've seen in the first 20 or so games.
I just like Plumlee better coming off the bench. He's better served coming off the bench. I've been very impressed with Plumlee this year. I was talking about it last year where it was like, or at the during the offseason where I was like, I think Plumlee might be the new Drew Eubanks where everyone's just going to hate him, but I was wrong. It was Jusuf Nurkic this year. I just like him better as that second center coming off the floor. The only problem with Oso Ighodaro, which I totally agree, absolutely should be the starter, is he's not a true 7-footer. I don't even think he's a true 6'10er. And so when you are running out kind of a smaller lineup then with Kevin Durant and him and Brad, well, when Brad comes back, Brad, Booker, and Tyus Jones, that's the only thing that worries me. But we have a chance to get an extended look at Oso Ighodaro, who has done nothing but deserved it, has proven me wrong. Like I have starting to jump on the Oso Ighodaro bandwagon where he's kind of surpassed Ryan Dunn right now in terms of his efficiency and his effectiveness for the Suns on both sides of the court. So yeah, absolutely. I would love to see him start tomorrow, especially against the Spurs team. It'd be fun to see how he does against their Victor Wembanyama guy. What about you?
Yes, I agree with everything you just said. Where I will push back is that I kind of talked about this yesterday, and yes, the Suns are smaller with Oso out there, but I think that whether you're talking about pure small ball with more of Durant being like the biggest guy on the court, or if it's Oso, the Suns' identity right now feels like a small ball team to me. When I just look at the best players on this team, the best stretches of basketball that they've played, the way that they're going to be more offense than defense at their best. So that's a big part of why I am all aboard with Oso being the guy to get these minutes and take advantage of this opportunity with Nurk out this next week is that feels like the ultimate destiny of this team. I also look at the schedule, and you have the Spurs with Wembanyama, and yes, he's an alien and massively tall, but not a traditional center in that he's going to be in and around the basket so much. That's a perimeter-based player. The Pelicans don't even have a freaking center. The Heat play Bam. The Magic, Wendell Carter is back, so he's like another 6'9" kind of perimeter guy. And then Nurk could be back by then. So this week's games, kind of a perfect audition for Oso to continue what he did against the Warriors and excel against teams that I think he can match up against. There's no Denver in this upcoming week. There's not even a Miles Turner who they're going to play on the 19th. This is kind of a perfect runway for the rookie to continue to get comfortable in a matchup that we kind of think he should thrive in already.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of push back on this really quickly. When you had said the Suns' identity does feel like they're best as a small ball team, or that's where some of their best basketball has come. I don't disagree with you, but I do kind of want to push big picture with Nurkic potentially. I mean, I seriously think, Brendon, that if Oso plays well enough, we might not be talking about Jusuf Nurkic like anymore. I think if he plays well enough, that being Oso Ighodaro, and you have Mason Plumlee, and Nurkic has been a square peg in a round hole all year long, I think potentially there is a chance that this could turn into like a PJ Tucker situation. Not because Nurkic is washed or not because for whatever reason, but I do think it could be like hey man, sit at home. We're going to try to find a trade partner for you. It just doesn't work here. We like what we have in this young guy. We like what we have in Mason Plumlee. And who knows, maybe they go after a buyout guy later in the year and they just roll out the Plumlee Ighodaro thing. But I seriously think that is a strong consideration that can happen over the next week if the Suns do succeed with some of their opponents. So that's something just to keep in the back of your brain. The other thing I would say is...
Well, we can't just blow past that. You just said that they're going to send a guy home. We got to stop there for a second.
Okay. That's fine. I agree. Go for it. Just what's your reaction to
I'm not going to fully push back on it because I get where you're coming from. And just to give some numbers to the people as they're hearing it, the Suns have been 5.5 points worse per 100 possessions with Nurkic on the court this year. They are vastly in the positive with Plumlee out there. Oso as well. So basically, any time that Nurk has not been on the court, the Suns have been pretty damn good, and they've been pretty damn bad when he has been out there. The only two things that I would say could change that, and one, I think we're just a little too early in the season to get to that point. If the Suns were under 500, if they were, dealing with an even bigger breakout from Oso, or if Plumlee was playing even better, maybe you could see it. I don't know if we're quite there, but the other two things I would say is, one, maybe this full-on shutdown for a week, rest, and maybe a week plus, there is a shred of optimism you could still have that some of his struggles have been injury-based. I would say especially on the defensive end, you could make a pretty good case that him with the ankle stuff, all this lower body stuff, he's not as mobile and as athletic as he could be. The other thing is, you talk about replacing Nurkic or improving this team, his contract is still one of the ones that you're going to dangle out there. It's not the most desirable one, but it is one that you have, and there's only like 3. So I think you run the risk of wrecking his trade value if 2 weeks before anybody's even eligible to be traded, you just say goodbye to that chance, and you're saying maybe he had B- trade value, C- trade value. Well, now it's F, and we're getting nothing of positive value for him because we're telling the league he's useless to us.
I don't want to get too far down the trade path because I know you and I
you talk about PJ Tucker, right? And he's never been able to be traded again once the teams decided
Tucker
you're
also
washed,
makes
right?
Tucker also makes an absurd amount of money. Someone would take.
He makes less than Jusuf Nurkic makes.
Yeah, but we know Jusuf Nurkic isn't washed, and we understand that Jusuf Nurkic is a little overpaid. But PJ Tucker,
I agree with you, but wouldn't it tell the league that the Suns think he's washed if they do this? That's kind of the message it sends. That's what I'm saying. Even if I agree with you.
The reason why I don't think that matters, and I understand it can come off a little outlandish, which is a perfect way for me to return on the show. But I think Jusuf Nurkic was never a piece that another team was going to look at and say, oh, we want that guy. We'll take your crappy contract, give us a couple of picks, here's a player, And that's why I think, like, it's funny. I sent you a couple of trades when I was just waiting in the airport on Friday. And I was like, man, there's just not a lot of things out there. Like, I don't think he is going to be used as a piece to get like a really viable player.
Yeah,
I think it's going to
I
be
hear
more
you.
like in the Royce O'Neal front. But do you have anything more to add on that? I don't want to spend, too much on, because I don't want to give up on Nurkic yet, because one of the things you had said also is the ankle injuries, the contusions. Like, he's had injuries everywhere. He was playing, I think it was against the Lakers, with 2 sprained ankles. I don't even know why he was out there at that point, but I do think some of it was that, and I think he deserves a longer runway to figure out this offense that I believe he's been asked to do the most, or probably the second most to Bradley Beal, and to change what he does best. And I also think he's just a good teammate. And I think that there is something to that. And I think the guys like him. And again, I think there's something to that. But do you have any more to add on that? Other than that, because I don't want to jump into like trade candidates and stuff.
No. We're not going to talk about actual trade possibilities, but I think the point you make is a valid one, that this could be the beginning of an evolution. And the way that I would put it is maybe less that we're already in send him home territory or anything close to that, but more so what could it look like short of that? Is he coming off the bench? Is he maybe in more of what Plumlee's role has been, where there may be games that Nurk is not even really a factor? I mean, he might play, but not really be a huge important player. And I think if Oso can really seize this opportunity, and the identity of this team continues to be more of that versatile small ball archetype, it gets harder and harder for Mike Budenholzer to embrace the 30-plus minutes a game version of Nurkic that Vogel had, that Nurk had the first couple weeks this year. And we might just be talking about a bench version of Nurk, or just a situational kind of role player more so than a focal point.
Let me ask you this really quickly before we jump to the next thing. What is your confidence level that when Nurk comes back, hopefully fully healthy, that he still will get it figured out to some degree? Because honestly, Brendon, I've been the biggest Nurk defender. I still don't think Nurk sucks. I think Nurk is a good player, overpaid, clearly, good passer, smart player, team guy. I think all that stuff matters.
Sure.
But I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, this guy just doesn't fit. Are you there, or do you still have some optimism that maybe when he comes back, he'll figure it out?
Yeah, I don't think it's black and white, right? I don't think it's fit or don't fit. It's what's the role. And to me, I think any other championship contending team in the NBA would be playing him as a situational role player. I mean, the Suns didn't ask for this. They wanted to get off of DeAndre Ayton. Like, we kind of just have to be realistic with the lens we're looking at it through, right? He wasn't like a coveted asset where they said Jusuf Nurkic is going to complete our team. He has qualities that are solid and positive. Play through those when it makes sense to, in limited bursts. And I think that's what any other team that didn't just have him as, well, I guess he's our starting center because that's kind of how our roster ended up. If you were just building it in a perfect world, Nurk would be probably a 15, 20-minute player that you're using against bigger post guys, or you're using in your second unit as a playmaker. And I just think that might be where the Suns are, even if the other alternatives aren't perfect, which Oso's not, Plumlee's not, small ball's not perfect. None of these things are perfect, but it might just have to be where they pivot, especially as the injuries continue to pile up. Let's get to more injuries piling up, but hopefully some saving graces to counteract it, as Bradley Beal is probable on Tuesday night against the Spurs. Is load management working for the Suns? We'll dig into the numbers next. First, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the best place to play daily fantasy sports, the only place to play daily fantasy sports. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as few as 4 correct entries, putting your wits to the test. That is really what it is all about. No pool, no head-to-head, no crazy leagues, no sharks who are just nickeling and diming you all across the way. It is just you versus those Prize Picks player projections. So if you think Steph Curry will get more than 5 3-pointers against, I believe they're playing the Nuggets, there's one for you. If you think that maybe Kevin Durant is going to go more on points in a pretty big game against the Spurs, he brought it against Vic last year. Does he do that again? All right, there's another entry into your lineup. Download the app today, guys. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Set your picks against those Prize Picks player projections. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's show also brought to you by Game Time, the best place to buy any ticket. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Ben just got back from seeing the Cardinals get smacked around by the Vikings. He is a living, breathing testament to the wonderful ways that Game Time provides for sports fans,
great.
but also
It was great.
easy, good value.
So good. My seats were awesome, man. I still can't believe
I saw your Instagram story. I was jealous.
I am not. I didn't think they were that good. I saw it on Game Time, and I was like, "There's no way. There's no way they're that good." And we got there. That's great. I got a great price too, man. A great price. Sorry.
Right behind those goalposts. Great seat. Concert, comedy, theater, whatever you want to see, including, obviously, as the NFL season comes to a close the rest of the winter. Check it all out at Game Time. Those Game Time picks put the best value seats right up top so you can know what you're getting and know it's going to be great. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. Reminder to everybody, sign up for the Locked On Suns Daily Newsletter. Click that link in the show description below. Type your email address in. Get that right to your inbox each and every day. Let's dive into Bradley Beal, who is probable. He played against the Lakers. He played against the Nets. He was out against the Warriors. He's probable again here against the Spurs. We talked a lot during the period without these two guys, Ben, of how do the Suns manage it with Durant and Beal. Nurkic conversation we just had. I think we're kind of seeing it. I think that we are seeing what it's going to look like, both with Beal missing that Saturday game, and they're kind of going really game to game with him, as well as Kevin Durant. His minutes have been lower since he came back, 29, then 33, then 35. I imagine we'll continue to see it look that way. What do you think of this strategy? Do you think that it's sustainable? Do you think it's smart? Does it look the way you expected it to? What are your thoughts?
I really want to wait and see till tomorrow, but I want to put this out there because as I was watching the Brooklyn Nets game, which was the last game I watched before we took off last Wednesday, was Beal got hurt, and we've seen, an elbow, an ankle. What was the other thing he had? He hurt some. Oh, his calf. I've seen three.
Yeah, the calf is what he's dealing with right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 3 separate injuries in less than 20 games, man. I sure, like, whatever the Suns want to do with load management with Bradley Beal, that's fine. But, like, the guy's got to be on the court. This team, the reason why I believe that they didn't go as far as they should have last year is they had, like, no time together. They're still not 1,000% sure how guys are going to go on the floor or where they're going to be. It's not second nature. They don't know each other like the back of their hand. Brendon, I don't know, man. I love Beal. Like, I love the dude. I love the ball player when he's on the court, but my patience is running really, really thin with Beal, man. Like, really thin. Because it's not just like, man, I feel bad for the guy because, like, he doesn't like this. Like, makes $50 million a year. And get out on the court. It's the difference between if you're hurt or if you're injured. And what I really like about this is Beal is already back. So it might have just been more precautionary than anything. And if someone twists an ankle, which kind of leads into the load management thing, just give them a day off, especially if it's Book, Beal, or Durant. Just give them the next day off. Like, unless it's a must-win, get them out there. But, Brendon, we can't keep waiting for Beal to get healthy. And I know you're on that boat. Like, we can't keep waiting for it. But there's got to be some way that we can just plug and play Bradley Beal, whether that's going to the bench, not because he's bad, not because he makes $50 million, not because he doesn't work there, but because those 5 guys starting in a lineup that potentially can start and close games that all know each other, and they're not like, hey, is Beal going to be here tonight? We're not sure. Like, I'm just getting frustrated. I kind of rambled there, but I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Yeah, so look, it is frustrating, and he's not going to just magically heal. This is what it is. That's why we're having this conversation. This is them trying to basically spoon feed health into a body that clearly doesn't want to be healthy, right? And so That's, I think, where we're at. It just is the reality. And I think that why I brought it up the way I did is I think the Suns are confronting that. I think that them resting him on Saturday on 3 days rest, and he'll probably play Tuesday. They play again Thursday. I think for the foreseeable future, it's going to be game by game. Maybe there will be some, months where he plays 1-2 straight weeks without an issue, and then it'll be back to this. I think that that's just going to be what it is. He was healthy in time for the playoffs last year. Maybe that was just luck. I think that they're trying to be more deliberate and diligent about saying, let's make sure he's healthy come playoff time again this upcoming season. So is your position that on top of this management, they should be, I kind of personally think it's a little too early to start talking about he needs to, well, it sounds like your argument, right, is that the point would be in order to develop the type of identity we were kind of talking about in the Nurk segment and to, just get reps together, cast aside a little bit the guy who's jeopardizing that, the guy who's most often out, and say, let's see what Royce O'Neal, Booker, Durant, Jones, and Oso, or let's just say it's still Nurk. Let's say that's our 5. Beal is like a nice added bonus sometimes, and, whatever. But do you need 60 games to see that? That's kind of what I'm saying is, like, if it's just a chemistry thing, I don't think we're at the point where you got to, like, pull the emergency cord and say, just to save our season, we've got to see what our group looks like without Beal. I mean, it's December. It just turned to December. Are we at that point already?
I don't want to get, though, to February, and we could have had December to do this because all the warning signs have been flashing since we've got Bradley Beal. Here's my thing, and I'm going to kind of agree a little bit with some dude in the comment section who always says it's not a big 3, the people that say it's my burner, which is hilarious. Maybe we should stop. I'm going to take a Mean Girls reference here. Maybe we should stop trying to make fetch happen. Maybe we should stop trying to make the big 3 happen. And instead of trying to feature Bradley Beal as this Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, this threesome of guys who are just going to outscore you, maybe it should be Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, the complementary role players we have. And when he's here, Bradley Beal. And he can be awesome, and he could be a part of that big 3 in some instances. But I think we're getting to the point very soon here, maybe not yet, where we just kind of leave the guy behind. He is the certified 6-man, still plays 32 minutes, still plays 35 minutes. We're not counting on him to close games because he's just not dependable. I'm not making the argument that he should be there because he makes a certain amount of money. I'm not making the argument like I was at the beginning of the year.
Argument that I'm making is he's on the team. He plays for the Suns.
Team,
you're making it seem like there's a world where he just, like, you can, like, kind of ignore that. Okay, cut him loose. Well, he plays for the team. So he has to have a role. And the role you put him in, you have to believe is going to make the team better. There's no world where you just get to, like, not my problem it. It is their problem. He plays for the team, and is he not the third best player? He's the third best player on the team.
He's the third best player. Right? He's the third best player by a wide margin. It's not necessarily close who I think would be 3 and 4. So
I just don't see a world where you're saying that things get better if you play your third best player less, or you deprioritize him in some way. I have no way of believing that the end result of a move like that is, and then the team was better off.
Mm-hmm. My point is, I just need to see more cohesion, more chemistry, and the same starting lineup for 5 games in a row that we haven't seen. And for the most part, Kevin Durant's been healthy, and like a calf injury that seemed to be not that big of a deal. They just wanted to give it time. Booker again has been healthy. It's just Beal, man. It's just Beal. I don't really know what the answer is, man, but I know I don't want to be caught flat-footed in February and March, and I'll hold off the dogs for this argument because I do think it is a little early, but I just don't want to get to February and March and say, all right, we got to do something because all the warning signs have been on. The check engine light's been on for 3 months now. We're just looking at it now. It's just,
here's the thing.
I'm just frustrated.
It is 100% frustrating. The reality is, if Bradley Beal is not healthy and at his best come April, nothing else matters. There's no solving for it. That's
really
just the truth.
It's a God-given truth. When you put it that way, And I don't know why I didn't put it that way. I guess you're right, man. I guess I'm just frustrated like a lot of other Suns fans. It's not, and a lot of people will go back and see this revisionist history and be like, oh, the Suns got fleeced. Dude, they give up a bunch of second-round picks and pick swaps. Like, who cares? They're never swapping with the Wizards on that. They gave them nothing. I would still do the trade again.
Beal or the mid-level exception. That is what I'll say.
I'd rather have Beal.
Up. Those were the options.
I would much rather have Beal. I don't really care about second-round picks. You can get those easily. We literally did that this past year. I'm just frustrated, man. That ankle injury against the Nets combined with them getting smacked around after you were texting me when I was at the gym that night and said, I don't know, man. I have a bad feeling about this Nets game. And then they promptly got their butts kicked in for 48 minutes that night. So I don't know. Yep. I don't know what the answer is, man. I'm still I didn't even want to put that take out there yet, but we talked about
the one silver lining
how
is
I felt.
You talk about chemistry, and fortunately for the Suns, the guys that they are basically going to have to rely upon as far as what the roster looks like now, if there are games come playoff time that Beal might miss, it's Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen. And we know those guys fit with this group. They've been on the team for a season plus each. They get plenty of time with the Booker and Durant lineups, and I kind of trust that that's going to slide in. I mean, plenty of teams deal with this, right? Boston, Kristaps Porzingis, is he going to play? Isn't he going to play? I mean, a lot of teams have guys like this, and unfortunately, the Suns are just one of those at this point.
Is anyone worse than Beal, though? Is anyone that is more?
The Suns played 86 total games last year. I believe that Beal played 57 of them. That's not so awful. I mean, it's ugly, but it's not some. Yeah, it's not Kawhi. It's not Joel Embiid. It's not Zion Williamson. I mean, yeah, he's far from the worst of that. Porzingis played one game in the finals. He played like one game, I think, in the whole playoffs, right? Maybe a couple against the Heat in the first round for Boston, and then he missed the rest and came back for one game, 2 games against Dallas. Like, I think it's I
guess
it's
it could be
kind
worse.
of the reality in the NBA right now, and the Suns, it sucks to be one of those teams, but it's just kind of a fingers crossed. And again, the load management that we talked about. All right, let's close out with an NBA Cup date. Did you like that, Ben? One last one as the Suns go into game number 4 and the last night of this whole tournament on Tuesday. What's at stake? What do the Suns have to do? Who might they play? All of that coming up next. First, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket, some hot chocolate, some coffee, watching a movie, getting comfy. All that stuff is the way to spend December around family, but therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when that season changes. As we've talked about time and again, these lessons, these heart-to-hearts, whatever you want to think of therapy as, it does not have to be just when something goes awry in your life. It doesn't just have to be for those bad times. It can be for good times as well. Learn positive coping skills. Learn how to set boundaries. Empower yourself to be the best version of you. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, flexible, convenient, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So, find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Closing out the show. Okay. So, this Suns-Spurs game, Ben, on Tuesday night is the last one for West.
So, Brendon.
I know. West Group B. The Suns heading into this game are, let's see, what are they?
I thought
2-1.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to go to the line if they were favored.
No. I think they're going to be favored and they should win. But that's kind of honestly not even the only thing that matters here. The win is like a must. You got to win. Because if you're 2-2, you're probably not getting through. Let's remind the people of how this works. So, the winning team from each group makes it, period. If you're tied in terms of win-loss in your group, the point differential is what decides the winner of the group. So, right now, heading into Tuesday, the Suns, Thunder, and Spurs are all 2-1 in this West Group B, all right? If they beat the Spurs, obviously the Spurs go to 2-2, the Suns go to 3-1. So that gets rid of the Spurs. That's why you got to do the winning part. And then one other team in the West will make it. That's the wild card. So 4 teams from each conference, the 3 group winners and 1 wild card. The wild card obviously also kind of gets decided by point differential. So on Tuesday night, the Suns play the Spurs. The Thunder are the other one. They play the Jazz. So that's kind of where we run into issues. So my question to you, wild prediction. We have no real way of knowing this. Just tell me if you think the Suns are 1 point ahead of the Thunder in point differential right now. Do they beat the Spurs by more than the Thunder beat the Jazz? That's kind of what needs to happen in order for the Suns to win their group and get that automatic bid to the knockout rounds of the tournament.
Who's home in the OKC game?
The Thunder are also the home team.
Okay, yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, like, you'd be crazy not to say that. Now, if the Jazz were home...
Because the Jazz are worse than the Spurs, right? Is that why you say it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Jazz are worse than the Spurs. I think the Spurs nearly have the same record as the Phoenix Suns.
They do,
basically. Yeah, whatever. Basically the same record. The Jazz they're kind of like a pesky, fun team. Like, they try really hard, and they have a lot of young guys who are just trying to make a name for themselves. But, like, if they're not at home and they get down big, they're like, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. What were we going to do? It's Shea, it's J-Dub. Like, what are you supposed to do? So,
and they have Hartenstein back, so they're even better than they were.
Who's been pretty good. No, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to wrap up the group. But
okay.
No, I don't think that's the case.
I agree with you because the Jazz are minus 27 and they are 0-3 in this thing. So the good odds are that exact scenario plays out. The Thunder are favored by 16. The Suns are favored by 7. I'm rounding there. So the numbers say that's what will happen. So then from there, in the other groups, you have 2 3-0 teams. So those teams will probably just shore it up as long as they take care of business. The Warriors are 3-0. They do play the Nuggets, so that's a tough one. And they're on the road. So maybe they lose. We'll see. And then the Rockets are also 3-0. They are playing the Kings on the road. The team that matters the most, I think what will end up mattering the most here, Ben, is going to be the Mavericks because they are 2-1.
Luka.
They are hosting the Grizzlies, who I believe still do not have Ja Morant. And they're somehow, I don't know what happened. I don't really need to go back and look. But their point differential is plus 41, even though they've lost a game. They have the best point differential outside of Houston in this whole thing. So my guess, if I had to tell you right now, because I agree with you about the Thunder, is you're looking at Houston winning their group, because they're undefeated already. They just got to win and they're in. The Thunder winning the Suns group, like we just talked about, beating Utah and taking care of business there. I will say I guess if the Warriors were to lose, then their point differential goes down and maybe the Suns are in play. But if the Warriors can beat the Nuggets, and I think the Mavericks will be the wild card team.
So just to
and that's the 4 teams and no Suns.
Yes, just to clarify for you, in an NBA Cup group play game, the Mavericks beat the Pelicans 132-91.
There you
go.
That'll
do it. That'll
41.
Do it. Say it isn't so, Brendon. We're not going to be able to go to Las Vegas and me and you just ship ourselves up there. You know, it's frustrating. You know, it's not frustrating because I just don't want the Suns to play an extra game at the end. Because with all the injuries that we've had.
They're still a ways away from that, right? Because they can make the knockout round games just count as regular season games.
The Suns are still good. And so, I still think they would win both those games. I take the Suns in a 1-game set. Just throwing this out there. Outside of the Celtics, I think the Suns are the best team. In a 1-game set, I need either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker to go nuclear. I just have a lot of money that those guys would do that. In a 1-game set, it's why the Lakers won it last year. LeBron James in a 1-game sample size can still be the best player in the NBA last year. This year, clearly, it's a little different, but I feel like the Suns are going to get in for some reason. They're just going to get in. They're going to sneak in. They're going to have to play another game, and guys will be healthy this time, and they're going to make it to the finals. And gosh darn it, they might just win the darn thing. And that's when we're going to put up a banner. We'll pop champagne. We'll kiss babies or whatever. Shake hands, kiss babies, all that good stuff. But yeah, I feel like they're going to get in. I have no basketball knowledge for this, but I believe they're going to get in.
So the Suns played the Lakers in the first round of this knockout stage last year, if people remember that. They lost by 3 on the road. So they did make it last year.
Mhm.
I feel like nobody remembers that happened.
I remember.
The situation to root for this year, if you want the Suns to get in, the first group I don't really care about. I don't think it's going to matter. You're rooting for if the Thunder just don't win or they don't win by enough, then the Suns just win their group. That's number one. Otherwise, you want a Warriors loss to Denver and a Mavs win over the Grizzlies. That would be probably the other route. So those are the two things. And then I will talk about this obviously as it comes up, but just a reminder for everybody. There's games next week that we don't know the date of or anything. So get ready if the Suns don't make this thing. They're still going to get these random games scheduled between like the 12th and 13th and then the 15th and 16th. There's going to be one game during each of those windows that we're just going to find out about next week. And the Suns will have to scramble to fly out to wherever or some new home game, if you're a season ticket holder, will just pop up on your radar that you have to deal with. There's also seating and all that sort of stuff that gets sorted out here, but we'll obviously cover that once it happens. So Ben seems to want and also not want the Suns to be in. I'm not sure if we've settled on.
I want to play meaningful games, but I also just want, like, if they get to the championship, I want Bud to sit all their stars. I don't want that.
I forgot about this. You want a Bull takeover in Vegas.
I want a Bull, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Monte Morris. Oh, man, do I feel good about any other shooting guard? Oh, Josh Okogie. Let's throw Josh Okogie out there. He's got another 30 burger in him.
I'm pretty sure Matt Ishbia would be paying Adam Silver like a $200,000 fine if he made that much of a mockery of the NBA Cup final. But a long way to go between now and then, guys. Be rooting for the Jazz. Be rooting for the Nuggets, even if that feels a little bit icky to do. And we might have some more high-intensity basketball coming our way next week. That'll wrap us up, though, guys. Hit follow or subscribe if you haven't already. Become an everydayer. Ben and I will be back at Footprint Center with a recap of Sun Spurs on Tuesday night, and we'll probably run through all of these other games as well to let you know where the Suns finished up in this whole tournament. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll catch you next time.